What's going on with all this weather? It's hot, it's cold, it's rainy, it's sunny, it's snowy, it's windy, and severe weather is back on the menu for parts of the South. I'll have your weekend forecast and I'll show you just where the thunder will rumble. Plus, we'll take a look at the long range, have our trivia question, and what's this I hear about a new cold rain weather commercial? Well, stay tuned and hold on to your hats. I'll have all of the details and much more. A new episode of Cold Rain's Weather World starts right now. Hello again and welcome back to Cold Rain's Weather World, or welcome to Cold Rain's Weather World if this is your first time visiting with us. I'm so glad that you're here and I want to thank you so much for spending a few minutes of your day with me. On this show, we talk about the weather, the current weather, and the upcoming weather so that you can be prepared as you go about your activities over the next few days, couple of weeks. And we have some fun along the way. We have a trivia question and we do some other things too. And so I'm so glad that you're here. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. It'll help us grow and reach more people out in the YouTube universe. And go ahead and hit the like button if you like the content. Share it with friends and family. And leave a comment in the comment section. I want to hear from you if there's something that I can pray over for you. I'm sincerely, want to walk alongside of you and lift you up through a difficult time if you're going through one. Hopefully you're not, but if there's anything we can pray for, please put it in the comment section. Leave a comment or suggestion about the show. And if you have any weather questions, we're happy to answer those as well. But anyway, thank you for being here. I'm so glad that we can spend a few minutes together. Now we're going to start, as we always do, with today's trivia question. Then we're going to take a look at our 2-minute drill or weather blitz or whatever we're going to call it. We're going to rebrand that eventually here, but we're going to take a look at that. That's just the weather over the next couple of days. That'll get you through the weekend so that you can plan for your weekend activities. And then we'll take a little bit of a look at the current or the marquee threat that's on the horizon, which is toward the end of the weekend, a little bit of severe weather potentially over parts of the South and Mid-South. So we're going to look at that a little bit deeper. Then we'll wrap things up with the long range. And we've got a couple of other things that I will do today too. Plus an announcement. We have dropped our first cold rain weather commercial. It's kind of silly and funny, but anyway, it's been playing around with some of the editing tools in the video editor and thought I would just kind of put that together and put it out there just for fun. So take a look at that if you want to. It's fun. You'll enjoy it. But anyways, let's get on with our trivia question for today. So here it is, and it's about the northern and southern lights. Okay, so the question actually is, what phenomenon causes the northern and southern lights? Now, you may know this, you may not, but we'll talk about it at the end of the show. If you know it, put it in the comment section. But here are your possible answers. A, the reflection of sunlight on ice crystals. B, charged water molecules in the atmosphere. C, solar wind interacting with the Earth's magnetic field. Or D, radio waves from space. Alpha Centauri, maybe? I don't know. So those are your possible answers. If you know it, as I said, put it in the comment section. If not, then hang on tight and we'll get to it at the end of the show. By the way, we are over 200 subscribers now. I think we're at 202. That's amazing. Thank you so much for subscribing and joining, as I said before. So now we're going to start our 2-minute drill with our satellite picture, as we always do. And we can see a couple of little interesting features here. We've got this massive here. Let's see if I can't really slide this over. I wish I could drag this page, but as you can see, we've got clouds streaming into the west coast. This is coming from all the way out in the central northern Pacific. And if I could stream this out, you could see this just continues on out west. But we've got another round of weather pushing in to the west coast. We've got a system affecting Alaska up here. You guys are getting some precipitation and clouds with this system spinning up here in the Gulf of Alaska. We'll keep calling that the Gulf of Alaska. That's fine. This is the Gulf of Cold Rain, as we've renamed it on this show. So when we talk about it, that's what it's going to be. You'll hear that. But we've got rain and snow in the higher elevations pushing into the northwest. We've got another little system rolling through the plains here, and eventually that'll translate onto the east. And we've got another system that's kind of that secondary low pressure we've been talking about has developed, and it is off the east coast up here in the northeast, and it's bringing some rain and some snow up into New England. And we can see this on radar. So you can see I've got this zoomed out so that you can see this kind of, it's not really an atmospheric river per se, but it's essentially the jet stream is pointing right into Northern California. And so you can see the rain out here, snow, and we'll kind of zoom into some of these areas so we can see who's getting hit with what. So we're looking at Eureka, Medford getting some rain, maybe some snow in the higher elevations out here. And then up into Portland, Seattle, little light rain up in there. And then some of the higher elevations are getting some snow. If we look on over here into South Dakota, Rapid City, Pierre, you're in between the rain right now, but we've got some light rain showers kind of working through Huron, Watertown, Brookings, off into Mankato, or I think it's Mankato. I think that's how you say that. So if I'm not saying it right, let me know. And then some light snow shower activity up in North Dakota, moving through Minnesota. And then we get over into the Northeast. This is where the real action is. You've got this low pressure that's kind of spinning up out here off the coast, and we'll kind of zoom in and take a look at this and center it back a little bit better. But around Concord, Portland, Boston, you guys are in some of the heavier rain. Augusta, Bangor, you guys have got some rain up there. Over here in Drummondville and Sherbrooke, you have turned over to snow, so you're picking up some little decent snow here. A couple of inches of snow is not out of the question. As we get on into the evening, places up here in Maine like, I don't know, Caribou, Madawaska, and, we're looking at this turning over into snow for essentially the northern half of Maine. So we'll see that here in a minute. But there you go. There's your northeast radar view, and we'll put this out. I don't think there's anything else really to talk about on the radar, so not much anything else going on. Nice day across the south. Get out and enjoy the weather if you can do so. Now, our temperatures, we're starting off a little bit chilly. Where it's snowing, it's in the 20s, around 30 below freezing. Chilly across the north, 30s and 40s. As we get into the plains, you start to warm up a little bit down here across the south. This is this morning at 9:55 a.m. We've got 60s and 50s and 40s across much of the south. This is going to warm up this afternoon. We're going to warm up, and it's going to be a very nice day across the south. So enjoy that if you can. Here's our WPC, this is a Weather Prediction Center, puts out their 3 to 7 day hazards map. Every day they update this. And so over the next few days, they kind of tell you what threats to look out for. So winds in the northern plains as we go on through late weekend, early next week, Monday, Tuesday time frame, you're going to see some winds pick up in here. So there's a small risk of some high winds in these areas. Heavier snow. So systems are the configuration of the pattern has changed a little bit, where you get these systems kind of working out of the northwest, and as they move south of the Great Lakes, cold air is dragged in from Canada, and so we're going to continue to see a heavy snow risk in the northern Great Lakes at UP of Michigan, things like that. Later on this weekend, as I said earlier, there's a severe threat that encompasses areas from Texas up to Kentucky, with a little bit of a heavier rain threat centered over the deep south, the lower Mississippi River Valley, because the cold front's not just going to blast through. It's going to kind of meander its way. And so we'll see if any training of cells set up. And then, of course, you've got some heavy precipitation where those systems are just kind of moving into the northwest. And so those are your threats over the next next week, really. And so we'll cover some of that as we get on into the show. Now, taking a quick look at our severe threat over the next few days, Saturday into Sunday, we've got a marginal risk centered mostly over northern Missouri for some hail, predominantly, maybe a few wind gusts here or there. It doesn't look like a big severe weather threat here. It's an association with a little upper level system that'll be moving through. Sunday into Monday is the bigger threat day, so we've got a slight risk from Texas up into Tennessee, up around Memphis, and then you've got a marginal risk surrounding that. So where we're seeing the slight risk, we're looking primarily for hail and wind. There could be a tornado or two, but we're not seeing big wind energy all the way up through the atmosphere like we've seen with some of these recent outbreaks, particularly the one the week or so ago down here. We're really not seeing that kind of a severe setup. So there's a slight risk. We've been watching this for a few days evolve, and it's getting a little bit closer, and it's becoming a little bit better defined. So the primary threats, as I said, are going to be hail, wind, with maybe a couple of tornadoes. But it doesn't look, as I said, like a big severe weather outbreak here. So just note that's what's going on there. And then if we take a quick peek at our alerts map, kind of looks like yesterday. Red flag warnings over parts of the central plains and southern plains, with gusty winds, winds gusting 35 to 40 in Nebraska, New Mexico, Texas, over into Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri. So nothing like the high winds that we've seen where we've had 60, 70, 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts. These are a little tamer, but still it's dry, it's warm, and it's windy. And so adverse fire conditions can start. And then you've got some freeze warnings still in effect in Georgia with frost warnings or frost advisories below that, and some winter weather situations out here in the higher elevations of the Rocky Mountains. Now, looking at our nice Atari map, we can kind of see those see a depiction of some of the stuff that we've looked at on radar. So this afternoon, as systems continue to work in, it's not going to be a washout or a whiteout up here, but in the higher elevations, as these systems kind of work in, snow and rain will kind of pick up in some of these areas in the Pacific Northwest. This little upper level system will move through, bringing some light snow. We've already seen a little bit of light snow and light rain showers up here in the Midwest and northern plains. That'll continue to track east, maybe a few rumbles of thunder in portions of Iowa and Illinois and Indiana through as we work through the afternoon into the evening. But again, it's not going to be a washout, but it'll be rather cloudy and damp at times. And then in the northeast, this system will wrap up and pull out overnight into tomorrow morning. Snow on the northern fringes of New England and rain to the south. Tomorrow, that system that we looked at in the Midwest pushes over to the northeast, bringing some just occasional showers and snow shower activity. Nothing major. Again, just very light precipitation across the north. Some heavier snow back in the higher elevations where you get kind of upsloping and upload flow. It helps to enhance the lift and all of that stuff. So that's where you see a little heavier precipitation depicted here, and then rain along the west coast. It'll be a little heavy. It'll be heavy at times out there. Nice across the south. So it's a nice Saturday. If we get into Missouri, we see thunderstorm activity is possible with this front, and a wave kind of traversing along in the upper levels is going to spark some thunderstorms here. But nice across the south, just warm, dry, and windy. So again, fire concerns down in New Mexico and Texas where it's been very, very dry, but a nice day. So enjoy it. Get outside. Be a little blustery at times, so hold on to your hats there, but you'll enjoy the nice warm weather and go barbecue, play some cornhole outside, and go to the park, have a good time. Now, Sunday is the more interesting day as far as severe weather goes. We've got that severe weather risk that we've already looked at. That'll occur Sunday afternoon into the evening hours. General thunderstorm activity possible around that. Just some light rain and snow at times across the Midwest, Great Lakes, and into the Northeast. As I said, these systems kind of track along in this direction, and north on the north side you get a little bit of snow. On the rain side you get a little bit of rain side. The southern side you get a little bit of rain. That is the rain side. And then systems continue to push into the northwest. So that's your 3-day Atari map forecast. Looking at our temperatures, so taking a look here, this is this afternoon. 40s and 50s kind of dominate much of the country, except some 30s and 20s sneaking in here into the northern plains in northern Minnesota. But outside of that, nice and mild, average to above average for much of the country. And so we're looking at a nice day along the south, maybe right at average here in the southeast, but that's a nice afternoon shaping up. Tomorrow, warmer in the south, so very nice out here. Great Saturday afternoon for you to be outside, enjoy the pollen, enjoy the weather. Let's get on a better display so we can actually see our temperature maps better. And a little bit chillier in the lakes. That air is still working through. That system will drag some cold air in behind it, warm out ahead of it. And then in the higher elevations out here, it's below freezing. And then Sunday, nice and warm across the south, chilly across the north, probably above average out here. If we actually take a look here, we can actually switch right on the fly and see how we are relative to average here. So if we take a look at our anomaly map, so in the Intermountain West, we're a little bit below, but across the south, we're above. Below normal up in the northeast for Sunday. So this above normal air will help set the stage for some additional instability and fuel for the fire, so to speak. Now, that is your 2-minute drill that gets you through the weekend. And coming up next, we've got a couple of little fun things that you want to stay around for. We're going to hear from George Washington. We'll continue our etiquette training. And we have a fun fact around something that you might consume occasionally, but really never understood where it came from. We're going to look at that. And then we'll do a deeper dive into the marquee threat of the weekend, and that is the severe weather threat over the South and Mid-South. So stay tuned. We'll get right to that. We spent a little bit longer on our 2-minute drill. It was more like a 5-minute drill probably today, just to kind of talk through the weekend and all of that good stuff. But there's just not a lot of weather beyond this current event that's coming up on Sunday. So we don't have a whole lot more to get to. So I thought we'd take a couple of minutes extra on that. Now, first thing I wanted to point out was that I love Chinese food. I don't know about you, but I love to eat Chinese food. And when I eat Chinese food, oftentimes in Chinese food, you see baby corn. Have you ever wondered where baby corn comes from? What is it? Where it grows? How do they harvest it? I've always kind of been curious about that. I've never seen a baby corn plant, so I just assume it's just a regular corn plant. The assumption is sort of correct, but I thought it would be fun to just share this since I like Chinese food and baby corn is good to eat. So I'm going to read this to you so you can understand this a little bit better in case you want to know. If not, just skip to the next section. So baby corn, also known as cornlets, young corn, or baby sweet corn, is essentially immature corn harvested very early before the corn kernels have a chance to mature and the cob hardens. Allows you to eat the whole thing, including the cob. It is a labor-intensive process that is costly to grow. Actually, you can buy it in the store. It's a little can. You get a little can like a soup can, but it's full of baby corn. It's kind of neat. Most of the world's supply is grown in Thailand, where companies can pay workers very low wages for time-consuming work. So unfortunately, over there, you're not getting a lot of bang for your buck in terms of money in your pocket for harvesting this stuff. But baby corn provides valuable nutrients that are lacking in most people's diets. It is high in potassium, folic acid, and is a rich source of vitamins A, B, and E, and many other minerals. Furthermore, it is extremely low in fat and has a lower glycemic index than regular corn, making it a great substitute. So, instead of eating corn on the cob dripping with butter and salt, now who doesn't like that? I'm sorry. Explain to me, maybe you can do a question or a segment for me to watch. Why is corn on the cob with butter and salt so much better than just corn off the cob on a plate with butter and salt? I don't know the answer to that, but it is, corn on the cob is so much better. Is it better for us than baby corn? Absolutely not. So eat more baby corn and less corn on the cob to have a healthier diet. Now you know about baby corn. I'm sure you always wanted to know that. I did, so I looked it up and I wanted to share it with you. Now, to continue our etiquette training, we turn to George Washington's Rules for Civility and Decent Behavior in Company and Conversation, abbreviated at the top of your screen. And we are going to look at rule number 4. So we saw rules 2 and 3 yesterday. Today is rule number 4. In the presence of others, sing not to yourself with a humming noise, nor drum with your feet or fingers. So you like to do that? George Washington says don't do it. You walk around, you're going singing out in public, just randomly. Don't do that. Nobody wants to hear that. So George Washington says, stop doing that and don't stand around and tap your feet on the floor. Now, in our society today, there's so much noise going on, who cares? But back in George Washington's day, that was impolite to do. So there is our etiquette training for the day. All right, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at our severe weather threat for Sunday, and the Storm Prediction Center has outlined an area of slight risk, which we saw before. Surrounding that's a marginal risk. So anywhere in the marginal risk, you can still see a severe weather threat. It's just a little bit more isolated. So maybe a couple of wind reports, a couple of hailstones in some spots, but it's certainly your greatest threats in the slight risk, and then general thunderstorm activity around that where you could see some lightning. If we take a look here at the probabilistic, so this is the percentage. It gives you the percentages of severe weather within 25 miles of a point. Now, when you see these probabilities, I want you to understand this because it's not always clear and people will throw this around. Sometimes you'll see a map where you've got like a high risk and it'll have 30% chance of tornadoes. So you're in that and you're thinking, man, I've got almost a 1 in 3 chance of getting a tornado at my house. That's not how these maps work. What this is showing you, this particular map is showing you a 15% chance of severe weather within 25 miles of a point. So let's say you live in Little Rock, Arkansas. You don't have a 15% chance of seeing severe weather. There is a 15% chance of severe weather occurring within 25 miles of where you live in Little Rock, Arkansas. So you understand how that works now? So when you see a 30% chance of tornadoes or a 45% chance of wind, just understand that those are actually high. That's a significant severe threat, but it means that there is a 45% chance of experiencing severe wind 25 miles from within 25 miles of where you live. Okay, so 25 miles is a long way away. It's a big, big radius. So just understand that, might occur in town, which is 5 miles away from you, and it's still verified as severe weather, even though you did not experience the severe wind. So that's how that works. Now, looking at this upcoming threat, we don't have a huge trough. We don't have a huge upper level system. We don't have massive instability or big shear this time. We've got a couple of little waves and we've got a general trough working, and that's the sort of the background of what's going on. So if we look at our marginal risk for Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, actually into the overnight, what you see is this little bitty wave here and this little kink in the upper level flow. This is 500 millibars. This is about 18 to 20,000 feet up. And you can see that little wave right here. You see this? There it is. It's working this way. And our severe weather threat, if you recall, or our marginal risk is here in Missouri. Okay. So that's what's kicking that off. There's going to be enough instability coming, with dew points coming up out of the Gulf to allow this thing to work on that a little bit, that you could potentially see a little bit of wind or a couple of hail reports in this area Saturday, but that's really not the main event. The main event comes Sunday, and what's driving that is actually this system way up here in the plains. Now watch what happens. It gets a little bit deeper. You see how it was kind of flat right here? It's kind of flat. Now watch what happens. It gets a little bit deeper, and eventually it closes off. Look what it's doing. See, it's getting really deep now, and eventually it'll close off into a little contour. So this is Sunday evening, right? So this is 3Z Monday. This is Sunday late evening around 10, 11 o'clock. And what you've got on the surface, if we were to look at a surface map, here's what we would see. We would see a low pressure right in this area and a cold front kind of extending back in this direction like this, okay? That's your cold front. And the winds are not perpendicular to the cold front. They're not doing this. That's not what's happening. And they're not parallel to the cold front. That's not what's happening either, okay? You see the wind barbs? They're coming kind of in like this. They're kind of coming like this. So what this is doing is it's not blasting the cold front through. It's not keeping the cold front in place. It's allowing it to move through slowly. So it comes through during the afternoon or later on in the evening on Sunday, and this is the reason that, because it's not blasting through, this is why we have a little bit of a heavier wind or rain threat in this area, as we saw on our hazards map before. But this cold front is also interacting with the instability and the moisture coming up out of the Gulf. This trough means that there's cooling with height. So when you have warm surface temperatures like we saw on our temperature map earlier, and good cooling with height, that's instability. Air wants to rise, and it will continue to rise as long as it's cooler than the air around it. And if you have really cold air up here, it's going to rise faster and you get vigorous thunderstorms. So there is enough instability here to present a slight risk of severe weather in this area generally. And so we're going to watch out for wind reports. We're going to watch out for hail. We're not seeing a massive tornado threat either out of this, because you don't have continuous winds turning with height. You've got winds going in this direction, and then you got winds going in this direction, then back in this direction. So when you see that, that's not conducive for tornadoes. There could be a few spots along the front that develop some thunderstorms where you can see a spin up or two, but we're not looking at a major tornado outbreak. Now, this is weather. Things can change, but that's the way it looks now across most modeling suites. So I wanted you to know that. Looking at our dew points Saturday, we've got a different kind of view zoomed in here, but looking at our dew points Saturday afternoon, we're kind of seeing those pump in. You got not really impressive here. This is 40s and 50s, but eventually we get into some 60s as we go through Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, and you see that front. See, it's kind of how it's coming in northwest to northeast to southwest. You see that kind of come on in, and dew points these are fairly okay. I mean, these are okay with the kind of cooling that's going on upstairs. This is okay. This will give you some instability. And so 60s, mid 60s into Louisiana. So you get a little tongue of richer dew points up in here. And then as we get into Monday, late in the overnight hours, and we work on into Monday morning, the threat's abated. this dry air has worked in. And if we look at that in terms of the CAPE, the actual convective available potential energy, this is the potential energy. Thunderstorms will turn that into kinetic energy if we get thunderstorms to form. We can see with those dew points coming in and the atmosphere cooling, you get an explosion of CAPE values uh, close to 1,000 joules per kilogram up here. That's pretty good from Missouri. It's not super impressive, but it's pretty good. It'll spark some thunderstorms up here. And then as we get into this is basically overnight Saturday, and we get on into Sunday morning, and then Sunday afternoon, it really starts to crank. So we've got some stronger CAPE values working into Texas, Louisiana, and the Arklatex over into Mississippi, and Western Tennessee, where our threat starts to exist as we get into Sunday evening and then overnight Sunday, and then eventually that all pushes out. So we've got plenty of instability here to work with. And then if we look at our wind speed, we sometimes look at our low-level jet, and we don't really have a super duper strong low-level jet. So coming in Saturday evening, over Missouri, we've got some higher winds. This is essentially 50 mile per hour winds, maybe getting up into the 60, 65 mile per hour range. So that's enough to translate down. If we get a stronger thunderstorm, it can translate some of those down. We get on into Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. Now we're at Sunday afternoon about 1, 2 o'clock. And you see kind of where our threat area is. Let me draw this so you can see it a little bit better. So here's our threat area from Texas up in through here is kind of where our main slight risk area is. You can see these winds kind of come in, but we don't have a lot of strong winds Sunday afternoon over the area like we would typically need to see for severe weather or a strong severe weather outbreak. So we get into Sunday evening, and then this makes me think that our more prominent threat as we get into Sunday evening should be a little bit farther south here into Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and over here into Middle Tennessee. So we'll see how this works out over time. But right now, the SPC's got the severe risk back in here, and I know we start to cool off as we get in late into the evening. And so that's how that'll work. And then Monday morning, kind of everything moves out. So I'll delete that little image there. And finally, here is our European, what it's looking at. So in terms of its lightning display. So here's where it sees convection coming in Saturday evening into the early overnight hours. You've got a little bit of thunderstorm activity into Missouri, Arkansas. That'll wane out overnight, so we're not looking at any strong activity there. Sunday morning, as we get into 8 a.m., seeing some activity here with that cold front into Western Tennessee, Eastern Arkansas. And then Sunday afternoon, we'll start to see things fire back up. Look here. So we've got the frontal zone as a focal point. We start to see thunderstorm development along it. And where that CAPE was kind of maximized, this is where you're seeing your most. Remember, this is where the CAPE was maximized. And so this is where you see your strongest thunderstorm development. It's a little bit displaced from the lower level winds, which may mean we don't have too large of a wind threat. But again, tall thunderstorms can create wind via vigorous downdrafts and things like that. So we have this sort of little complex of storms, and you can see these kind of not in too big of a hurry to move through and dissipate. So eventually they coalesce into a line and move on off into the Gulf Coast. And that's what happens Monday afternoon, or Monday morning into Monday afternoon. So that is your threat. That is kind of a look at how everything plays out there. So pay attention. We'll keep you updated here. Follow me on Twitter, realcoldrain.com. Stay subscribed to the channel, and I'll make sure that we keep you updated. Now, we're going to transition, take a look at the long range just quickly. We haven't shown our jet in a couple of days, so I want you to see that. Starting Monday afternoon, look here what we've got. I'm going to scroll this down just a little bit so you can see it. Kind of our northern branch here. We've got our southern branch here. You can see those really well coming in. This is the United States right here. This is a northern hemispheric view, so this is the Arctic Circle. Everything kind of swings around that. And so we'll go back down here and take a look. And we'll put this into motion Monday the 24th. Kind of got a ridge out west, trough in the east. The point is, pay attention to what's going on out here in the Pacific. This big jet kind of swings around, and it continues to point into the west coast. So you've got another system moving into the west. The jet still coming around. Ridge out west, trough in the east of the United States. System kind of comes in, a new system comes in. You get these little troughs like this. That means that there's lift and that there's a spin. And you probably, if we look at our surface map, I'm sure we'll see a low pressure system there. Another piece of energy comes in. The jet just kind of comes on in. It gets zonal for a while. So you're not going to see massive storm systems while the jet looks like this, but it's still bringing energy in. So you could get any little buckles in here like this. You could get some precipitation kind of in a quick hitting fashion, and we'll see that on the surface map. And then you get another big kind of buckle out here as we go on. This is the European model that's showing this, by the way. So there's agreement and the jet continuing. So just storm after storm. It's a very active pattern we've been in. No need to belabor it. Looking at our snowfall total, so our friends up in the northeast, the northern sections of the northeast, middle Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, New York, this is where we're looking at the lion's share of the snowfall. The European ensemble mean shows, roughly 16, close to 20 inches of snow over the next 2 weeks. This is over the next 2 weeks. Higher elevations could see a few inches of snow here and there. Some upslope snow is occurring in the North Carolina mountains. I saw a report actually of 2 inches of snow. So very good. We talked about that yesterday. Air comes in from the west, it hits the slopes, it rides up, you get snow if it's cold enough. And so we've seen some of that. Snow back through the Great Lakes, that's our other secondary area, looking at upper Michigan, upper Minnesota, and upper Wisconsin here. So that's where you're seeing most of your snow falling. And then in the Intermountain West, and you'll see a few areas of snow move across the northern plains too. But your big snow totals back here in the Cascades and the Sierra Nevadas, man, if we get some anomalously warm temperatures later on, we're going to see some massive snow melt out here. The snow's just piling up. So there's your snowfall footprint. Looking at the European over the next couple of weeks, we're looking at storm system after storm system just sort of come in. Our next major time period we've been watching is that Monday and Tuesday, 23rd, 24th, 25th. And you can see the thunderstorm complex that we've been looking at that sort of breaks apart. You get a snow reflection up here in the northeast, so we're seeing some snow there, snow in through the Great Lakes. And then as we get on out in time, you see these little systems that are kind of quick hitting, they move through. We get another system now out into the end of March, early April. We've been watching this time frame again the last few days on this show. If you've paid attention here, you've seen us talk about that, me talk about it. Nice return of moisture out of the Gulf. So this looks like, if this is true, and the GFS kind of agrees with this, the timing's a little bit different, of course, between the models. But if you get good moisture return, you get a strong 989 low out here in the plains, you're going to have snow on the top where it's cold. Another severe weather outbreak possible as we get to the end of March, early April. I've been watching that time frame for about a week, and we'll keep watching it. And then that moves on to the east. You get a few other systems that kind of come in across the south where it's warm, sparking some thunderstorms. And then we get on out way in time, and but these systems just kind of come in, march along, and so on and so on. In terms of our total precipitation over the next couple of weeks, again, this is like a carbon copy. Every day I'm posting the same map. It's a new map, but it looks the same. So you get these systems coming in, dropping heavy snow in the mountains, heavy rain in the valleys, track across the north. They blow up in the plains. You get the subtropical jet action sometimes coming in here, but you've got higher footprint along the east coast. In terms of our temperatures today, just taking a look at the EPS, starting out here on Monday, cooler in the Great Lakes and in the east. So we're going to get a little bit of a cool period. We saw this yesterday, warmer out west, really warm out here along the west coast. In the western section of the country, really chilly along. Look at this, purple anomalies. These are at 850. This is, by the way, 5,000 feet up. It just sort of smooths out, with night and day. The surface temperatures go up and down, up and down, up and down. It's hard to show that on a daily basis here because it would be a psychedelic map and you would probably all be zoned out or hypnotized or something. But anyways, here we go out to the 26th, 27th. We're looking at that big ridge out west, man. But this is not temporary. It's just how the jet stream is configured. The GFS is similar to that. So big warm out west, big cool in the east. Look at these purples. So it's going to be quite a bit below normal for a couple of days out here in the East Coast next Friday. So as we get into next weekend, it starts to warm up again and we get under a ridge in the east and a trough out west. So next weekend could be a really nice weekend along the East Coast, except for the Northeast where they could see, you guys up in Maine could see some showers and snow. And then we get on out in time. The next system pushes in, brings some cold air behind it. So that system that we looked at around the end of March, early April is going to drag cold air into the east. Warm air comes into the west. And then we start to get into a regime. The model always wants to just warm everything up toward the end. So we'll see. But that's how it goes. 8 to 14 day. Strongest signal for below or above normal in the desert southwest. Below normal up in the northeast with a general signal of warm west, cool east. Above normal precipitation across the northern tier, particularly in the northern Pacific Northwest and the Great Lakes, and then some rain out here in southern Texas. Hopefully you guys can pick up some rain. It's been very dry here. And so that is it. That is it. And look at this, what I've done. What have I done? I've shown you that map. There's our 8 to 14. I've been on the wrong display the whole time. So, and then there's our precipitation map. So I wasn't lying to you. I just didn't show it all. So that's it. That's our show. And now we're going to wrap up our trivia question. So I'm going to answer this question. So what causes the northern and southern lights? Is it reflection of sunlight, charged water molecules in the atmosphere, radio wave, or solar wind interacting with the Earth's magnetic field, or radio waves from Alpha Centauri? And the answer is solar wind interacting with the Earth's magnetic field. So what happens is this: the sun emits charged particles. It's called solar wind. You see this happen a lot when you have solar flares. You have a coronal mass ejection. It basically plasma goes out into space. It's called solar wind. And if the wind is a certain density and it's strong versus weak, that can affect the eventuality of how the northern lights plays out, right? So, I mean, they might be really weak thing and you only see it around the Arctic Circle, or it could be a very strong event and you could see it as far south as some people last year, I think, saw it as far south as South Carolina, so, and even Georgia, Alabama. So anyway, the sun emits the particles called solar wind. The Earth's magnetic field deflects most of those particles. We've got to be thankful for our magnetic field. It keeps us safe from radiation and solar wind. If we didn't have that, we would all be irradiated and the entire Earth would be devoid of human and plant life. Animal and plant life, I should say, not just humans. Everything would die. So it deflects most of the solar wind, but some particles are captured, and the captured particles accelerate toward the Earth's poles. And so those particles collide with atoms and molecules in the upper atmosphere, and that collision heats the atoms and molecules. It causes them to glow, and this process is called excitation. They get very excited. And so the glowing atoms and molecules create the colorful light show that is the northern lights. And again, if it's really strong, you can see them pretty far south, or if you're in the South Pole, pretty far north, right? So there you go. There you have it, the northern lights. So anyway, that is our show for today. You know about the northern lights now. You know about baby corn. We're all learning etiquette together. We're going to be the most etiquette trained people ever. And so this is going to be great. But anyway, thank you so much. Watch the commercial. It's kind of fun. Let me know what you think of it. Subscribe to the channel, give a like, give a comment, and I hope you all have a blessed day and a very, very nice weekend. Follow me on Twitter, Real Cold Rain, and I'll make sure, or it's X, I can't stop calling it Twitter, and I'll keep us up to date. Have a great afternoon, and this is Cold Rain reminding you, if other channels run 24/7, we got you covered 48/14 right here on Cold Rain's Weather World. Take it easy, everybody. See ya.